Welcome to Queer News Tonight. This is the world's first and only LGBTQ plus daily news television show, broadcasting live and available on demand and your favorite streaming channels.
We are proud to announce that YouTube has recognized Queer News Tonight, certified by analytics company vidIQ, as the world's most popular LGBTQ plus streaming news show. Our queer stories have reached over 10 million views.
We are proud that Queer News Tonight has more YouTube subscribers than any other LGBTQ brand in Florida. We thank you for watching and supporting our voice in the LGBTQ community.
There is no other news program in the LGBTQ world like Queer News Tonight.
That's right, Vaughn. It is Monday, April 21st. We are live and literally out of the closet and into the headlines. So many of your important stories we'll tell this evening on Queer News Tonight.
You're watching Queer News Tonight, the world's first daily LGBTQ evening news show.
Welcome to the world's most important LGBTQ plus evening news show.
Hotspots Magazine, Happening Out Television Network, is a nonprofit 501c3 media company in the same model of PBS and NPR, but designed for the LGBTQ plus community.
Our nonprofit mission is to support the 11 pillars of our LGBTQ community. We want to inform and educate the key issues of lesbian, trans, Latino, Black, healthcare, seniors, students, faith, social justice, business, and queer culture. Help us support our diverse community. We are part of one of the largest LGBTQ nonprofit media companies in America, Hotspots Magazine and Happening Out Television Network.
In 2025, our magazine is celebrating 40 years of the LGBTQ experience, and Queer News Tonight is celebrating our 5th anniversary with more than 10,000 LGBTQ television stories. We will produce the 25th anniversary of our Stonewall Pride Parade and Festival on June 14th. We present Pride Fete in August and Pride Fort Lauderdale in February. Our magazine, events, television news, talk, and entertainment shows support our mission to educate the LGBTQ and broader community.
In 2025, more than 100 community leader anchors will host this show to support the LGBTQ plus community. Let's meet today's anchors at Queer News Tonight. First up, let's welcome anchor Edward Otto Zielke. He has a successful career in financial marketing and serves as the director of marketing and sponsorship for the world-famous Gay Men's Chorus of South Florida, baby. I love them a lot. Edward, so Divas Tea Dance will be held at Hunter's Nightclub on May 3rd. Tell me what's happening.
Yes, thanks, Faye. On Saturday, May 3rd, the Gay Men's Chorus of South Florida, the Bears of South Florida, and Hunter's Nightclub will host the dazzling Divas Tea Dance from 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. at Hunter's Nightclub in Wilton, Manors. Doors will open up at 2:30 p.m. for an afternoon packed with music, laughter, and community spirit, with DJ Richie Rich spinning non-stop beats and local drag queen Phoenix Endora from the Gay Men's Chorus leading the festivities. Guests can expect high-energy dancing, diva-themed mini-games, and plenty of surprises. Tickets are $10 in advance or $15 at the door, and proceeds benefit local causes, adding heart to every glittering moment. For more details and tickets, visit GMCSF.org. This is the first one that we're actually doing around a tea dance that the Bears and Hunters, have kind of partnered with us over the last few years. We've done community sing-alongs with them. We've done bear drives. In fact, we just dropped off of a bunch of bears to the Children's Hospital today. So we just got that taken care of. So it's so great because you got to see the end. I got to see the end result being the bears being delivered to the children. And then you get to see events like this being created, new things just for, people to just get involved, and all the proceeds go to nonprofits here in the area. So it's always a good cause to come out.
I love that you're a nonprofit that helps other nonprofits. You know what I mean? Like right now, especially with the climate that we're in, nonprofits have suffered such a loss in the last couple of years of cuts and all kinds of stuff. So when I see nonprofits coming together, like William loves you guys, Bears of South Florida. I mean, they're incredible, and they don't need another organization to do an event with, right? Because they do their events on their own just fine. But they look forward forward to having this event with the Gay Men's Chorus. You know?
They are such advocates for arts and culture. I mean, you'll see them with the South Florida Pride bands. They're sponsoring their concert. They're sponsoring our Divas concert. So and we're just so grateful to them. So many people work with them in so many entities, and they're so organized and they're so together. And the pool parties, have you been to the pool parties? Yeah, they're legendary.
Well, and hunters. Let's talk about hunters. Okay,
Yes.
hunters I also consider like in a beautiful way, not how the word sounds, right? It's like our community gym. Like we have everything there. We have fundraisers, we have galas, we have celebrations of life, we have book signings. You name it. We have, a tea dance for the Gay Men's Chorus. Like they open up their doors to have so many other incredible events that are not just a nightclub party time, that they also give us, on an everyday basis.
That is one of the nicest things with this event is doing a tea dance. Like originally from being from Cape Cod, we do the tea dances. They're very famous up in Provincetown. To see us doing more of them in Wilton, Maryland, I think it's a wonderful idea. And I don't just say that as someone who likes to go to bed at 9 p.m.
Right? But you also say that as someone that likes to go to bed by night, And can we talk about Phoenix and Dora? I love that she's the one doing the performance. I mean, she's also a part of the Gay Men's Chorus. That's fantastic.
It's so wonderful to see people like that come in and into the organization and just feel like it's a part of like their family. We open up our doors to all LGBTQIAS2+. So it's literally like you could just come in and audition, and as long as you pass through Gabe, then you're pretty much set. So.
Oh, and don't we all want to pass through Gabe? Oh, So that is the big LGBTQ story for today. There is no other queer nonprofit media platform like this in the entire world. Support our LGBTQ stories by subscribing and sharing. And Queer News Tonight looks forward to seeing you all at Divas Tea Dance at Hunter's Nightclub on May 3rd. Let's welcome the man with the best hair at the table. That's Alex Morash. Alex has served as editor-in-chief of Options Magazine, media director of the National LGBTQ Task Force, and press secretary for the Florida Democratic Party. Alex, Champions of Equality Gala returns May 10th to Miami Beach. Tell me what's happening.
Sure thing. The 2025 Champions of Equality Gala, hosted by SAVE, is set to take place on Saturday, May 10 at the Lowe's Miami Beach Hotel. Established in 2005, this prestigious annual event honors individuals who have made lasting contributions to advancing LGBT equality in South Florida. Hundreds of political, civic, activist, and community leaders from across the region are expected to attend. Past honorees have included Miami-Dade commissioners, state and national lawmakers, and notable figures from the arts, entertainment, and political spheres. Known as one of South Florida's premier LGBTQ advocacy events, the Gala celebrates fairness, inclusion, and leadership. Single tickets are priced at $350, and sponsorship opportunities are available for those who wish to support the cause further. For details and tickets purchases, visit foundation.save.lgbt. And I just want to say to Save ahead of time, please, it's too much. No, I don't need any awards, but thank you. But in all seriousness, Save is just such a wonderful organization in South Florida. Their gala seems like a really wonderful time to honor people. And I know that's a big ticket price. I'm not going to say that everybody and their sisters should go, but for those that can afford it, you are supporting a good cause at a time that we really need to raise some money to combat some of the stuff going on right now.
Yeah, and they're at the forefront of this fight, so we need to support SAVE. SAVE is incredible. They have been around forever helping us, all the way back when we were just trying to get married, right? SAVE is incredible. Some past honorees, Anna Navarro, who I love, who we all adore, Glenn Weinzimmer, who sits at this table very often, and a lot of other notable folks as well. They were at the Symphony for a couple of years, and now they're moving to Lowe's. Like, how incredible is that, And by the last couple of years, their silent auction items are always like top notch. I always try to, leave with a couple of those for sure, Vaughn?
I like to leave with a lot of those, yeah. My bank account won't let me do that. But no, it's a great event to go to. I mean, I was there last year. I've been a couple of years there, and it's just a wonderful experience because it is. And you mentioned the ticket price, and you're right. It's not for everybody. Yeah. But at the same time, it's also a fundraiser for this organization to raise funds to continue to do the work they're doing. Yeah. And it's a great way, and it's a great way to honor people that they brought. I think we had I'm trying to think who it was that performed last year from on stage. I can't remember who it was now, but
I don't know. But they've had Deborah Cox in past years. Yeah. I mean, they always bring the game. You know, they don't play around. No. This is safe. Yeah. They're the folks that started this business. You know what I mean? Like other nonprofits had followed their organizational ways of doing things to have their nonprofits be successful now. So
and not to mention all the tuxes and the gowns and the drama and the glitter and the
And the drama.
Right, the drama.
Right? Yeah. That,
Good drama.
Good drama.
Good drama.
Fantastic
Talk about
drama.
good drama.
Hell
Yeah.
yeah. So get your tickets today. They will definitely be announcing the awardees and who will be performing soon. So that is a big LGBTQ story for today. There is no other queer nonprofit media platform like this in the entire world. Support our LGBTQ stories by subscribing and sharing. And Queer News Tonight looks forward to seeing you at the Champions of Equality Gala on May 10th. Next up, let's welcome my brother from another mother. He's Von Biggs, baby. He's a community outreach coordinator at Holy Cross Health, a vice chair of the Ryan White Part A Planning Council, and a founding board member of Trans Ed. So Von, Holy Cross Health will celebrate 25 incredible years in Wilton Manors on May 31st. I'm so excited about this. Tell me what's happening.
Well, Faye, it's a birthday, right? Let's start off with that. Opa, it's a celebration. Breaking dishes. No, let's. I'm not bringing Rihanna. We're not bringing Rihanna. No, for breaking dishes. No. Anyway, but Holy Cross Health marks 25 years of service to the Wilton Manors community with a vibrant celebration on Saturday, May 31st, from 12 p.m. to 3 p.m. at Hunter's Nightclub, titled OPA, a celebration of 25 years of Holy Cross serving the Wilton Manors community. The event promises an unforgettable afternoon of music, food, and gratitude. Broadway sensation Nick Adams will be headlining, joined by Emmy and Grammy winner John McDaniel and a lineup of local talent. Guests will enjoy Greek-themed hors d'oeuvres and a festive atmosphere honoring the hospital's long-standing impact. VIP tickets offer premium seating and open bar access with tables including a bottle of Prosecco. General admission is $50 with standing room available for $35. This milestone event celebrates Holy Cross's commitment to compassionate care and community support. For tickets and details, visit harmonywaves.org. You know, one, I love it that Harmony Waves is partnering, obviously, with Wilton Manors and with Holy Cross on this, because it's a great opportunity for people to really see that we have been there all that, for 25 years. When the clinic first opened there in Wilton Manors, I mean, they were doing STI testing for the gay community. And a lot of people forget that. You hear rumors of people saying they're the first in the community. They weren't. We've been there for 25 years and we're not going anywhere. This is, as we say, this is just the beginning. And I think it's a great testament to that. It's going to be a fun-filled event. Obviously, with Nick Adams there, we're going to have the people see hors d'oeuvres and it's like, no, it's going to be heavy hors d'oeuvres. So keep in mind, it's not just little, finger tasting here and there. They do have VIP tickets available, and then you can also buy a whole table. So come out and support and see everything. I think it's just going to be a blast.
It's going to be awesome.
Yeah, come out in your best Greek attire.
Oh, I love it. Opa. Yes,
right.
I'll bring my own dish and I'll clean it up because I don't want Diego Alonso to kill me over
Exactly,
the Hunters,
that part.
Yeah.
And like Alex Morash, right? Like he needs to be home by 8:30 to be tucked in.
Right.
You'll be like so early for you'll be able to go to Alibi after and still get home in time.
Yes.
I mean, think about it, right?
Right.
I mean, there's technically still time for a tea dance after that. Right. I've never met Nick Adams, but I used to interact with him on social media. Nicest, most interactive. He's very engaged in the community and in the LGBTQ activism.
I didn't expect to hear that, honestly.
We'll talk about my Twitter another day. But everything I know about him has always been positive, so it sounds like a really amazing event.
And I love that John McDaniel is playing the piano. He's been around for a very long time on the Broadway era, and he was on the Rosie O'Donnell show and stuff. So yeah, as her accompanist there. So it was wonderful. So it's good to see him there too.
It's going to be a great time. And listen, again, congratulations on 25 years. I can't even begin to say how important it is to have your healthcare organization as such a huge provider and supporter of LGBTQ. We've had this conversation often about how you're named Holy Cross. And for a lot of us that are like non-practicing Catholics, all right, or like in rehab for being Catholic growing up, right? The name kind of stings, and what you and Dr. McDreamy Jason and Kim have done, you've put an LGBTQ plus and ally face on the people giving us this support, okay? You've done this. So please take that pat on the back, not because I love you, but because honestly, what you're doing, what you've done, what you will continue to do for our community is just incredible. Well,
I think about the Sisters of Mercy, and we've talked about the nuns before in the past, but they have always been so supportive of LGBT community. If you look back, they were the center of the AIDS crisis. They've been around. They've always supported the LGBTQ community, and I think that's something to really take home. So those values that we've set forth for us, that we hold true to those to this day.
Yeah.
So it's great. Thank you, though.
I love it. Get your tickets, okay?
Yes.
So get your tickets for May 31st. That is the big LGBTQ story for today. There is no other queer nonprofit media platform like this in the entire world. Support our LGBTQ stories by subscribing and sharing. And Queer News Tonight looks forward to seeing you at OPA, a celebration of 25 years of Holy Cross on May 31st.
And of course, let's welcome tonight's lead anchor, FayWhat. She is legendary events host, a television and radio personality, and the host of Hotspot's Happening Out's The FayWhat Show. Faye, the Gay Men's Chorus announces historic raffle for $30,000 trip to Machu Picchu and Peru for the Pride concert June 21st. Tell us what's happening.
Oh my God, take this all in, folks, all right? Because the Gay Men's Chorus of South Florida, right, that is always doing incredible things, is set to dazzle audiences with Dazzling Divas, a vibrant musical celebration honoring legendary voices, diva voices. The event will be on Saturday, June 21st at 8 p.m. at the Parker in Fort Lauderdale. One of the highlights of the event will be a historic raffle offering a chance to win a luxurious diva vacation, baby. $30,000 trip to Machu Picchu and Peru. $30,000, all right? Tickets for the concert start at $40, which comes with an opportunity to participate in the raffle. For more information and for raffle details, visit GMCSF.org. Dazzling Divas, you know that I love me, the Gay Men's Chorus, and thank you so much, Edward, for being at the table. That is just a coincidence, okay? Because I just wanted to talk about the event on my own without you being at the table.
Well, first I have to thank all of you for Hotspots Happening Out for designing this. I mean, this was just unexpected, and we were just so grateful to Al, to present this to us, and we're so excited about it. So yes, thank you all. So it's going to be magnificent, the concert itself. I mean, you're going to hear music. You'll hear Ariana Grande, you'll hear Chappell Roan, you'll hear Lady Gaga, you'll get a little Judy Garland, you'll get some Bette Midler. So there'll be a little bit for everybody.
All the divas.
So, yeah, absolutely. We're celebrating them all as much as we can. It was funny because the chorus was like, well, you forgot Madonna, or you forgot Cher. And we're like, I guess we're going to have a Divas too. Yeah, right.
Like that.
And there are enough divas that we love. People will send you in divas. You know how we are. We're judgy. We're enjoying all of the divas, but we're like, you miss Madonna.
Absolutely. But make sure that you definitely enter in this raffle. It's amazing. This trip looks absolutely fantastic. I've never been to Peru, so I'm telling all my friends to make sure that they're buying their tickets through that way. So yes.
And what a great opportunity. Again, thank you to Happening Out Travel for doing this. But what a great opportunity, folks. Think about it. Your chance to win a trip that's worth $30,000. All right. I know it sounds far-fetched, but I've won a trip in this way, right? I paid $100 for a raffle and I ended up getting a $5,000 trip. And think about it. The odds are for you because there's less than a couple hundred people in the room.
Right.
All right. So your chances are magnificent. Buy 7 tickets. You're still going to spend way less than $30,000.
Right. And I think that's the good thing about it, is that the more tickets you buy, the less it costs per ticket. So yeah, there's an advantage for, multiple entries.
Well, trust, I'm going to be multiply that, all right? Just to let you know. Finish us off, Edward.
That's right. That is the big LGBTQ plus story for today. There is no other queer nonprofit media platform like this in the entire world. Support our LGBTQ stories by subscribing and sharing. And Queer News Tonight looks forward to seeing you at GMCSF's concert and raffle for a $30,000 diva vacation trip to Machu Picchu and Peru on June 21st.
Now let's dive deep into this big LGBTQ story. An LGBTQ plus breaking news story for today. I'm FayWhat, and let's queer up the breaking news. Pope Francis dies today as Queer News Tonight discusses his LGBTQ rights legacy. Pope Francis, the first Latin American pontiff and a figure both beloved and debated across the globe, died today at the age of 88. Church bells tolled across Rome as Cardinal Kevin Farrell made the announcement from the chapel of Domus Santa Marta, Francis's longtime residence. Quote, at 7:35 this morning, the Bishop of Rome, Francis, returned to the home of the Father. His entire life was dedicated to the service of the Lord and of his church, end quote. Francis had been battling chronic lung disease and was hospitalized in February with double pneumonia. He passed away just one day after blessing thousands from the balcony of St. Peter's Basilica on Easter Sunday. In his 12 years as Pope, Francis brought a tone of compassion to many controversial topics, including LGBTQ inclusion. Pope Francis has been the most forward-thinking pope on LGBTQ issues in history. He made headlines in 2013 when he said of gay clergy, quote, Who am I to judge? End quote. Later, he publicly urged the church to apologize to queer people for past mistreatment. Francis supported civil unions for same-sex couples and called laws criminalizing homosexuality, quote, an injustice. Yet, he upheld traditional church teachings, barring openly gay men from seminaries and limiting how same-sex couples could be blessed. He met with trans Catholics, backed their participation in baptisms and weddings. Pope Francis was named the Advocate magazine's Person of the Year, and now the world waits as the College of Cardinals prepares to choose his successor. You know, it washes over many Catholics that the Pope died on Easter Monday, right? And he was still able to be seen yesterday for Easter Sunday. He didn't do his usual speech, you know, he didn't do the usual service, but they were able to see him there, you know. And Pope Francis was one of those popes. Like, I remember growing up with the Pope before him and just everything being negative when it came to LGBTQ, right? And Pope Francis was the first one to actually put like love and tenderness and saying that we're all God's human and who is he to judge? And, you know, he sat with trans clergymen. I mean, that's huge, you know. He also might have said the faggot word, you know, in some backdoor meetings that, you know, we found out about, right? But I mean, again, still the most forward-thinking pope that we had in our time frame, you know. You know, he allowed priests to bless same-sex couples. I know people that like cried from that, from just being able to be part of that, you know. My wife is a recovering Catholic, you know, she was raised Catholic and a lot of this stuff kind of stings her, but she was even touched today, you know, like I think millions and millions of people today are mourning Pope Francis's passing for sure. Now, I just wonder, did J.D. Vance have anything to do with it? He was one of the last people who saw him.
You know, many people on the internet have been saying, you know, we're just asking questions as the right love do. So they're just asking, did J.D. Vance kill him? I don't know. I wasn't there. I will say in all seriousness, like on one hand, you know, Pope Francis, you know, is an imperfect man, but that kind of made him very human as a pope compared to previous popes that were very distant. You know, Pope John Paul, like, you know, he was that very distant figure. Benedict was after him, another very distant figure, but Francis was very humble. He didn't wear Prada shoes like the other ones.
Yep.
He decided to be a much more man of the people, and I think that was something that is probably going to be his biggest legacy, is that, like, you know, on LGBTQ, he was better than all the other popes, but let's be honest, it was a very low bar.
Yeah.
But, you know, when I think about with his death, the other thing is, it was, you know, when you think about older people today, they normally have a very slow, painful time, and he had been in and out of the hospital, but we didn't see the media circus like the Death Watch of John Paul, thank goodness.
Yeah.
You know, but, you know, I think there's some modern politics that need to be mentioned in this, not just J.D. Vance, but, like, you know, for the next pope, cardinals have to be under the age of 80 to vote for the next pope. And I'm like, if the Democratic Party had a similar policy, we might not be in the same situation in this country. That's all I'm saying.
Facts. What do you think, Vaughn?
You know, you know, he lived a life of servitude. And I remember hearing some things about him about, you know, he liked to reach out to a lot of the people in prisons. And, you know, he would approach them with, I'm a sinner too. You know, that whole, you know, Jesus mentality, and really servitude. He chose not to wear the fabulous garments that so many of them have worn, and he wanted to live a very simple life. He wouldn't even live in the apartment which was a very luxurious apartment.
With the gold toilet or whatever?
Yeah, he chose a very simple, modest place to live in an apartment. So it just continued to show, you know, he wanted to be there for the people, and that resonates very well, I think, with a lot of people because of that. And it showed that effort of love in so many ways. He also encouraged families who had gay children not to condemn them because they were gay.
Yeah.
So that's a very important message too, that they could say to those families of, don't condemn your children because they're gay, you know. And so, I mean, it's a sad passing, and I'm curious to see what will happen next.
Yeah, what a legacy. You know, I mean, I sit there and look at all of the contributions he had while he was here, and it's just amazing and, you know, inspiring, because it's a ripple effect, you know, and then I'm seeing all of a sudden other churches, you know, displaying LGBTQ plus flags. And I'm like, wow, that actually gives me hope for this type of organized religion, as we call it. So.
You know, I think back to, I keep remembering this because I think of Mother Teresa. And I think about one of the quotes that I usually quote a lot in my emails, and that is, you know, I may not be able to change the world, but I can cast a stone that will cause many ripples. And I think that's so important because look what's happened from what she's done, what he's done. It's
Yeah.
this ripple effect that's happening and is still going to continue to happen. I hope. That's my hope anyway.
You know, whenever we do stories from this table about like religious hate against LGBT, right? You know, we're always like, it's always like cringy, right? And then most of us will always say like, God, when we were raised, we thought religious was about love, right? We thought all religions, the basis was love.
Right.
And he would make it a point to remind us,
Yes.
right? And we're all God's children at the end of the day. And that's all we wanted was to be seen as God's children, right? We want the same opportunities as anybody else. And I felt that he saw that.
Right.
You know, and he made it a point, you know, so he will be missed. Oh, you know what, before we finish, I asked a question for you. So now what happens? Do a bunch of cardinals go to the Sistine Chapel and like throw names in a box and figure it out? Like, what happens?
I'm not an expert on it, but they have a conclave. I guess all the cardinals can go, but you have to be under 80 to vote, which I still just overwhelmed. I wish America could do that with picking leaders sometimes, but like, and I remember that there'll be black smoke, so they put it on pieces of paper, and if it's a win, white smoke will come out, and if it's not a win, it's black smoke. I don't know how they change the color of the smoke.
Okay.
They'll probably claim it's a miracle, but it's probably something with the paper. I don't know. Well, I'm sure the CNN or somebody will explain it eventually.
For sure. Thank you, Alex. That is the big LGBTQ story for today. There is no other queer nonprofit media platform like this in the entire world. Support our LGBTQ stories by subscribing and sharing Queer News Tonight. Now let's dive deep into this big LGBTQ story for today. I'm FayWhat, and let's queer up South Florida and Florida. Wilton Women's Week, a queer celebration, blooms in Florida. It's no secret. Wilton Manors knows how to throw a party. But this spring, Florida's queer capital is doing more than celebrating. It's holding space for queer women, for non-binary folks, for healing, for art, and for the power of community. From April 26th to May 4th, the city will host the very first Wilton Women's Week, or WWW, a vibrant week-long celebration uplifting LGBTQ women and non-binary people. Imagine community morning events, nighttime dance parties, queer storytelling, laughter-filled brunches with literary icon Rita Mae Brown, and more. It's not just a moment, it's a movement. Organized by the Pride Center at Equality Park and Women with Pride, WWW isn't just about events. It's a heartfelt response to the underrepresentation of queer women and non-binary people, even in LGBTQ spaces. From LGBTQ theater with the Lesbian Thespians to art exhibitions at the Stonewall Museum and even a spiritual wellness session. WWW offers something for every soul. Whether you're local or flying in for the vibes, Wilton Women's Week is calling. Get more information on wiltonwomensweek.org. So I'm really excited about this. I can't believe it's the first time, and I'm really, really excited that it is the first time, and it is Wilton. WWW, let's do oil wrestling. No. You know, big shout out going out to Skirt Magazine and Women with Pride for having this vision and being able to go to Robert Boo over at the Pride Center and saying, I want to do this, being able to go to Hunters and saying, I want to collaborate and do this. They have something for everyone, right? From a kickoff at Hunters to Ruby Fruit Jungle, Rita Mae. I mean, like, I want to see her. Like, she's in her 80s. Like, I can't believe that she's going to come here and be a part of this. I'm so excited for that. We've got a comedy night at Sunshine Cathedral right here on the campus that we're at, that the incredible Dr. Anna Lepoli is going to be one of the comedians, and she's a freaking riot. They've got so many things going on for a week full of fun.
Yes.
Women's, you know, it's going to be incredible. And Wilton Manors is the perfect place to have a week-long event about women, for women, and for the people who love us, right?
Right. Well, I think it's important because I want to see women out all the time in our community. I want to see more. I want to see them more present in our community.
You love women.
Well, I do. I'm sorry. I can't. We've talked about that. But anyway,
it's not a bad thing, but it's rarity for gay boys to love women as much and want to be surrounded by them. As a woman, it's okay. You're in a safe space. I understand, you know, and, you know, for many gay boys, I'm their only lesbian friend. And like, I've been told like, oh, you're fun. Like, it's a surprise and shit. You know what I mean? Like, you know, so thank you
I just think it's a great way, and creating space will allow it to create more space in the future. And until this happens, I think we need that, and it'll be great to see. I'm excited to see what's going to happen and what all they pull off, and I'm sure that they are ecstatic.
It's important to go to these type of events because you're supporting, you know women's businesses, organizations, you know. I've gone to, a couple of theater productions from lesbian thespians and stuff. So yeah, this is actually good to, really invest money in the community this way too, and to support the lesbian and non-binary queer women that we have in our community. And especially if you're new in town and you're looking for something to do and to identify and, find a group of people, women specific, that are, have the same interests as you. So this is perfect for that.
Not just that, I'm glad that we're starting to do week events like P-Town does. Not to compare us to P-Town all the time, but when I used to work up there, they had all sorts of they had multiple different types of women's weeks and men's weeks and bear week and 4th of July was the unofficial twink week, but but I think it's wonderful to have because we talk about sometimes, I don't mind that Wilton Manors is sometimes a sausage fest, but sometimes it shouldn't always be a sausage fest. And you can't do that unless you make space by doing actual events like this. We need women in this community. If we didn't have women in this community, we wouldn't have Apartment 9F, and I just love their food and cocktails too much.
Oh, Carol. Oh, my God, that bread pudding. I can live on that bread pudding.
Oh,
my God.
I know.
Sorry. Yeah.
But, the one thing I will advise Wilton Manors with Women's Week, just be careful if you do a baby dyke weekend, because we would do that in P-Town, and that was the one time we'd have to have security to keep
extra security.
Well, because it looks like a bunch of Justin Biebers are fighting. Just saying.
Listen, now more than ever, it's important for our community to unite, for all the letters to unite, right? And I don't mean to be like that person that's going to make you feel guilty, gay boys, but I'm going to, right? During the AIDS crisis, the people that were at your bedside were lesbians, okay? And it's so often forgotten by this new generation. They were just raised in a place where G and the L were completely separated. Back during that time, we didn't have a choice, Most men weren't out to their families, or their families didn't want to help them with AIDS, and the lesbians were there to help them, And we have to go back to those times without having a pandemic be the reason why we have to go back to those times. Right?
Yes, absolutely. Support one another. That's really what it's all about. And then learn something while you're there.
Right. And it also attracts to these businesses, like Edward said, women's weeks invite people to come from other places.
Right.
Once they know that we're having a women's week, right? Yes, we have Tropical Bear Week. We have a great time at Tropical Bear Week, but we also have Wilton Women's Week, right? Acknowledge it and come enjoy with us. Well, that is the big LGBTQ story for today. There is no other queer nonprofit media platform like this in the entire world. Support our LGBTQ stories by subscribing and sharing Queer News Tonight.
Now let's dive deep into this big LGBTQ plus story for today. I'm Edward Otto Zielke, and let's queer up South Florida and Florida. Fashion Week red carpet runway came to Wilton Manors on April 19th. Wilton Manors just got a whole lot more fabulous. On Saturday, April 19th, the city's vibrant Dixie Village transformed into a runway meets street art showcase for Fashion Meets Art Walk Wilton Manors, a new launched monthly event that celebrates LGBTQ creativity through fashion, design, and hands-on art. Over 15 models strutted the runway in stunning original looks by designer Juan de la Cruz, design turning the street into a living, breathing gallery of wearable art. The event is part of a larger monthly series tied to the beloved Arts Walk Wilton Manors, taking place every third Sunday. And the best part? It's completely free, including open bar. What makes this monthly celebration so special is the mission behind it. Hotspots Art, part of the nonprofit Hotspots Happening Out Media Group, powers the event and is dedicated to uplifting LGBTQ plus artists and art through initiatives like Art Walk Wilton Manors, Sculpture Walk, and Arts United Gallery. Adding even more flair to the evening, Hotspots Happening Out Media Group hosted an interactive cellophane art installation just before the runway show. A professional artist began outlining a massive wall mural, then handed it over to spray cans to attendees, inviting everyone to contribute. A mural by the people, for the people. Queer News Tonight's John Hayden was on the scene, capturing the color, the crowd, and the energy of a community coming together in style, and here is more of his reporting.
Like no other, flawless, absolutely flawless.
Fierce looks come fast and furious as Fort Lauderdale Fashion Week comes to Wilton Manors at the Hotspots HQ on Dixie Highway. From hair and makeup to a final fitting with Uber designer Juan de la Cruz to her runway moment, FayWhat takes fans with her on the experience.
Juan was an artist that I thought was super fashion forward and was amazing because he like upsold and like recycled things, like you said, that I love about artists. And he was gonna do this fashion show, and of course FayWhat came in and was like, hey, make sure you're inclusive, make sure you have all body types, make sure you have all age groups. And he's like, I do, and I need another girl. You available? And this is how it happens.
You don't subscribe to fast fashion, and you're always out digging for these fabulous outfits, but today, fabulous outfit has come to you.
Yes.
How's it feel to be pampered and made up and all that today?
I mean, that's usual for FayWhat. But today I get to do it for Juan de la Cruz, who is just an incredible designer. We get to wear his stuff. It's all LGBTQ plus folks that are walking the runway today. Lots of black and brown folks, so that always makes me happy. And we're at home. We're at the Hotspots Happening Out offices. So I mean, it doesn't get no better than that.
Tell me about your outfit.
Or my lack thereof. I love how little I am wearing right now. Look at me, look at me. No, this is an original Juan de la Cruz. Look how cool this is, right? And this is just one of the outfits that I'll be wearing today. So you've gotta stay tuned to the fashion show to see what else will be coming up.
Wow, Faye, I think you're totally living my dream here. I have always wanted to strut down a runway, and I'll tell you, that is so great that we're doing this now, because that's another art, man, that we just need to really get behind. Fashion Week, man, that's what we need down here. Right? I'm so excited that we're starting this.
Right?
That's great. You know, when we're tapping into designers that, can design clothes and show off everything. Fabulous. Absolutely fantastic.
And like you said, right up our alley. Like when I was a part of the show, I'm like, why haven't we done this before? How come we haven't had fashion shows like this? I mean, Fort Lauderdale Fashion Week was just finishing up. So, I mean, I love that Hotspots Media Group, Hotspots Happening Out Media Group decided, okay, let me do this. Let's start this. So now they want to do this once a month, which is awesome. If you haven't been to Dixie Village, that's where all the art galleries have started to like open up, and they're having art walk. And I don't know when they have it exactly, but I mean, it's always awesome. People are doing outside things. They're having events outside. There's always liquor involved. Everybody's always having a great time and bringing people to that top part of Wilton Drive where all the galleries are.
Yeah, it's so wonderfully located. Like you were saying, it's actually near Theater Row too. You have Island City Stage there and stuff, and then right down the street is the Pride Center with the chorus offices. So it's literally becoming a whole arts mecca, and it's so exciting to see that.
Right, and I love that they call it Dixie Village now.
Yeah.
I was watching the news today, and it's interesting because you talked about upcycle, upcycle fashion, which is a wonderful thing to do. And they just had a big show up in West Palm Beach. A group of I think it was either college students or high school students that designed, and they had a walk where they had done everything was from like a repurposed. And
wow.
We need to see more and more of that.
We do, because people are surprised by the fact. People are always telling me like, oh my God, your closet must be so full. You have, a container full of your dresses. Yeah. Not really. Like what I do is I upcycle, and I go to, I love Goodwills and I love consignment stores, and I have a subscription service. I really try not to add more to the planet, right? And all of that. I mean, all that, when you see those dump sites where all that clothes ends up, it does something to me. So everything that I wear, every single piece of clothing, from gowns to anything, has been used by someone else. Okay?
And it's so important that Hotspots is doing this monthly, because we all know what we've been hearing rumors that the drive's been a little slower than it used to be, and people I always have to remind people, we're not next to a beach like P-Town or Rehoboth or Fire Island. Like, how do we make Wilton Manor something? This is the sort of stuff of how you do it, whether it be Women's Week, a monthly fashion event. We have to spice up life, and it's just great to see Hotspots leading the way on this.
Right, and we love fashion. Yeah. Like, even if we're not the best with our own fashion, we love to see fashion.
Or at least watch half-naked boys walk around.
Well, that's
good too to me.
There was nobody that you didn't want to see in that fashion show. Everybody was super hot. Big shout out going to Juan de la Cruz, the incredible designer. He's Colombian, and an incredible talent. I loved wearing your clothing, and it was such a great opportunity to be part of your fashion show. You know, like I said in the video, when I heard about it, I reached out to him and I said, hey, make sure you're inclusive. Make sure you have all age types. Make sure you have all the letters represented. You know how I do, boys. But I didn't expect to be walking. I was just walking to I was just reaching out to nag them and make sure that we were inclusive.
Right.
And they're like, no, we got a job for you, girl. That's what happens. But I had a great time, and thank you again. So that is the big LGBTQ story for today. There is no other queer nonprofit media platform like this in the entire world. Support our LGBTQ stories by subscribing and sharing Queer News Tonight.
Now let's dive deep into this big LGBTQ plus story for today. I'm Edward Otto Zielke, and let's queer up drag culture. Onya Nurve snatches crown of RuPaul's Drag Race Season 17. RuPaul's Drag Race Season 17 has officially crowned its queen. And what a ride it's been. In a historic finale that aired on MTV, the top 4 queens, Jewel Sparkles, Lexi Love, Onya Nurve, and Sam Starr, lit up the newly revamped main stage, each gunning for that $200,000 prize and the title of America's Next Drag Superstar. Jewel Sparkles kicked off the night with a cheeky, laugh-out-loud performance, showing once again that she's a queen with comedy and heart. Lexi Love skated through a dazzling routine, backed by her chosen family in the audience. Then came Onya Nurve, who lived up to her name, dripping in charisma, uniqueness, nerve, and talent. Her supportive parents melted hearts across America. Sam Starr closed the performance lineup with a sparkly, soulful number, giving us all the feels, and proving she was born to shine. Then came the moment. Jewel Sparkles and Onya Nurve in a fierce lip sync to Lady Gaga's Abracadabra. Fans screamed, glitter flew, and in the end, Onya Nurve snatched the crown, having won 4 maxi challenges, including the Snatch Game and stand-up comedy. Onya was a frontrunner all season, and now she takes her rightful place in the Mama Ru's queendom. Congratulations to the whole cast, and especially to Onya, America's Next Drag Superstar. And don't forget, RuPaul's Drag Race All-Stars 10 hits Paramount Plus on Friday, May 9th. Well, I was just speaking with my boyfriend about this season, and I think this is really one of the better seasons that we've seen in a long time. I mean, I like a little drama, backstage and stuff when you hear some of that, and you get to know them a little bit more. You get to see a little more vulnerability. Mm-hmm. But, I'll tell you, watching Onya through this whole process, she's been somebody that's just been nailing it all along. And I was so happy to see Jewel Sparkles up there in the second place. She represents Florida here.
Tampa.
Yeah. So it was really, again, like a real amazing talent there too. So yeah, I was really, really happy with the end of all of it.
I have to agree with you. I mean, Onya had it from the beginning. You just saw her and she did it flawlessly. I think there was just one time she lip synced or something. And it was weird to see her down there. Wait, they can't send her home. Right. She got 15 wins, under her belt already. But she was incredible. Jewel Sparkles was also so much fun. Lexi Love, I rooted for her. I wanted to root for her. I knew she wasn't going to win. I'm sorry, Lexi. I think you're adorable. But I love that she brought the trans aspect to freaking a very popular show, right?
It was a very raw seeing of her because she talked a little bit about she was on medicine and stuff, so and the progression of her mother and stuff, so there was a whole arc of story around her, and it was so important to have that story out there for people that are trans and non-binary. Yep. just to identify with somebody there. So it was really well written. My heart would hurt of happiness, right? Yeah. When her mom would use the correct pronouns and she would be happy because you could see it in her face where she's like, oh, she used the correct, you know what I mean? For someone that has had such a tough time with her mom, to see that pan out on TV in front of your eyes was a beautiful thing.
And it's nice to see story arcs like that on RuPaul's Drag Race again, because there's actually, the internet loves to now psychoanalyze RuPaul's Drag Race, which I watch that more than RuPaul's Drag Race. But there's been this memification of RuPaul's Drag Race, especially after season 7 or 8, and it's nice to see them going back to those bigger story arcs, because especially this year, I'm glad that this has worked out so well with the finale, because there were some rough waters on the internet about season 17, specifically Snatch Game took TikTok by storm, and not for the right reasons.
Yeah.
Apparently someone played Sasquatch instead of a celebrity, and that was just like everything on TikTok. It was on TikTok for like hours almost.
Oh my gosh.
It was a mess. Can you talk a little bit about what you loved, Sam Starr's reveal?
Oh my gosh. I was watching it and as I couldn't clap my fingers. I needed a fan to clap.
That's your drag.
I'm kind of like,
Sam Starr
oh my God. When she came out in that red gown and all of a sudden the guys came out on stage and she whirled around and then it turned into a red carpet. And then she walked that red carpet like I am the star.
Yeah.
I was like, bitch.
Yeah.
Yes. But I did have to make a comment, because I'm so happy that Onya won. But, I know your cousin, Onya Nees from Indiana. So, just saying.
So, and we can't talk about this segment without talking about our own Susie Toot, who rounded off the top 5.
Yeah.
I, for one, was surprised. I really thought she'd be up there and top, for the finale. I mean, if you would have, I would have bet money on it. You know what I mean?
I thought so too, but I think it was a matter of her choice in that particular moment. I think they gave her an opportunity to go above and beyond what we've normally seen with Susie too, and I think they were wanting to see more, and she just kind of gave them a little bit of the same. So I think it's a hard lesson.
She took for granted, and she will not. She'll learn that lesson for sure.
And if you see her now, like in the lip syncs, and she won that. She already had hers. It was like all of a sudden it was like, where was this? It was like that big floppy red hair. It was like a slutty Raggedy Ann. It was great.
We loved every second of it.
And that lip sync at the end, to that song, I mean, they were all over that stage. It was awesome to watch.
But come on, really we all know the words of Abracadabra at this point.
Right.
I mean, we're gay. We have to, right?
Right.
All right. Well, if you haven't seen it, sorry for spoiling it for you, but watch it tonight, okay? Just, you'll have a great time. So that is the big LGBTQ story for today. There is no other queer nonprofit media platform like this in the entire world. Support our LGBTQ stories by subscribing and sharing Queer News Tonight.
Now, let's dive deep into this big LGBTQ story for today. I'm Alex Morash, and let's queer up the USA View. Supreme Court takes LGBTQ book ban case. Potentially game-changing case about LGBTQ inclusion in classrooms is now before the U.S. Supreme Court. The case, Mohammed v. Taylor, was brought by Christian and Muslim parents who object to LGBTQ-themed books being used in a Maryland school district. These parents, backed by the conservative Beckett Fund for Religious Liberty, are asking the court to require schools to notify them before their children are taught any material they believe contains, quote, instructions on gender and sexuality in violation of their parents' religious beliefs, end quote. They also want the right to opt their kids out of such lessons. If the Supreme Court sides with the parents, it could effectively introduce a nationwide "don't say gay" rule. The decision could make it nearly impossible for teachers to freely discuss queer themes without needing to warn parents and possibly exclude students from class discussions. Critics say this would set a dangerous precedent of elevating one group's religious objections above all others. As legal scholars note, the Constitution doesn't permit schools to provide accommodation to one faith, in this case, parents with anti-LGBTQ religious beliefs, when it doesn't provide those same accommodations to other faith or non-faith groups. Now, with a 6-3 conservative supermajority, the court's decision in Mohammed v. Taylor could determine whether LGBTQ plus identities are welcome in public education or erased entirely. The first reaction I had reading this, is the court, they're making a big thing about being Christian and Muslim. That's a specific tactic the far right is using to try and create more Islamophobia in this country. Let's be very clear. Like, yes, they found 1 or 2 Muslim parents for this, and they put their name up first. That's designed to create more division within our community. We've right from the get-go, I just want to call that out. That being said, the don't say gay stuff that the Supreme Court's trying to do, it's absolutely scary, and I have a feeling they're going to try and do it. I was a substitute teacher, back 15 years ago. My parents were I've done every job during the Great Recession. I am, girl. I am.
Well, what grade?
A high school.
Okay.
So I literally subbed at my old high school after grad school because I had nothing better to do. My parents were teachers, go be
teach.
a sub. And they were both teachers. So it's someone who's dealt with teaching and all that. How do you actually implement what they were? Gender and sexuality. So you can't talk about boys or girls as well. You can't do any of that stuff. And you know that like most schools have for a long time would just have you sign one form at the beginning of the year because you had to for health class for this sort of stuff. So the fact that they're trying to do this weird extreme thing for every instance, I'm like, that's not practical. You're going to end up and then the kids that are put in that situation, because there are plenty of teachers that'll find clever ways around anything. You're just going to have them sit outside the class every now and then. Like, that's just going to ostracize the kids. And all the other kids are like, haha, you have to sit out here where we're going to talk about fun stuff.
No, and guess what? That kid is still going to find out about all the stuff that they talked about inside the classroom that he was not allowed to hear. Right? Because there's this thing called the internet, right?
Well, and also the bus home from school.
And also other kids.
Right.
Of course, you know. And, you know, I feel bad for the teachers, right? Because, again, you came from a family of teachers, Alex, okay? There has to be some passion, all right? Some commitment to teaching, to education, to want to do it. Because you don't get paid shit. All right. So there's got to be something more for you to have to do that. Right. So these poor teachers that are already getting underpaid, right, can't say if they themselves are gay or put a family picture of them if they're gay. They also can't talk about religion, gender, love, sex. I mean, like, what can you talk about? Right. You're already erasing history. Right? When you talk about Christopher Columbus, right, discovering the Americas when he didn't, right? You can't discover a place that was already inhabited. But, you know, you're going to be, so you're teaching lies, but you're also keeping them away from the truth. I mean, like, I'm in upside down world. Explain this to me, Edward.
Well, I wish someone would explain it to me. I mean, isn't that what a teacher is? To basically give you facts and information that is correct, you know? So, yeah, when I'm disturbed also by hearing words like instructions on gender and sexuality going against their religious parents' religious beliefs, I think it was. But, you know, we're not writing books on instructions on how to be LGBTQ+. Right. We're writing books that people like us can identify with in terms of characters and storylines. Right. It has nothing to do with any of that. This is what we're really talking about, especially in the grade schools.
Right. And how far did this go? You know, what if a religious fringe group says, well, we don't think the Holocaust was real. We don't want our kids to be taught that. Yeah. What if they don't want to be taught about the history of this country and some of the less wonderful things that we've done? That's far scarier and weirder to teach a kid than the fact that two mommies love each other.
Exactly. And imagine that indigenous kid in a classroom learning about Christopher Columbus, knowing that that's not really the truth.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Like, what a mind screw that is. I mean,
when I read this story, I was thinking, what can we even talk about boy and girl? Can we even say that? Because it's like, shouldn't it go across the board?
Of course.
Yeah.
It should be equal, right? I mean,
and at the end of the day, not everyone's Christian, Ron.
Nope.
Right? So you just basically set a standard, right? If you're Christian, then we'll fight for you, and we've got to have that in the classroom. But any other religion, no.
Right.
It just doesn't make sense.
Make it make sense, folks. Make it make sense. That is the big LGBTQ story for today. There is no other queer nonprofit media platform like this in the entire world. Support our LGBTQ stories by subscribing and sharing Queer News Tonight.
Now let's dive deep into this big LGBTQ story for today. I'm Von Biggs, and let's queer up health. Will the Supreme Court limit or eliminate access to PrEP? Here's what they will consider. On Monday, the U.S. Supreme Court will hear Kennedy versus Bradwood Management, a case that could reshape preventative healthcare access for millions, including many of the LGBTQ community. Here's what is at stake. The Affordable Care Act's mandate says insurers cover preventative services like PrEP, HIV testing, and cancer screenings at no cost. The case began with a Texas group of Christian employers who object to covering PrEP on religious grounds, but has now grown into a broad challenge to the very foundation of the ACA's preventative care protections. At the center of the U.S. Preventive Services Task Force, whose expert recommendations determine what services insurers must cover, plaintiffs argue it's unconstitutional because its members aren't confirmed by the Senate. Jose Abrigo of Lambda Legal calls the case about whether science or politics will guide our nation's public health policy, allowing ideological or religious objections to override scientific consensus would set a dangerous precedent, end quote. The lawsuit is led by Jonathan Mitchell, the same legal strategist behind Texas's extreme abortion ban. LGBTQ advocates say his long game is to dismantle civil rights protections, including those that benefit queer Americans. According to Jeremiah Johnson of PrEP for All, quote, over 150 million people could suddenly have to pay for care they once got for free, end quote. Even small cost increases can lead to steep drops in access. The court's decision is expected by the end of June. You know, in Broward County, we have a lot of issues that we talk about, especially about access to care. But, you know, this case challenges the very foundation of the Affordable Care Act's protections, which have ensured that services like PrEP, HIV testing, and cancer screenings are available at no cost. If the court rules against these protections, it could lead to significant barriers to accessing essential health care, disproportionately affecting those who rely on these services the most. And that's what we see when we find people don't get access to medications. I mean, we see it today, even in HIV treatment. People, if they have struggles or access to barriers or something, they just stop taking the medication. Yeah. I mean, we see people that have been out of care for years and have not taken medication, and now they're deathly sick. And we've got to find better solutions to get people access to care.
Wow, but 150 million people. Like, can you just imagine that? That you're used to being on PrEP, you're used to not paying for it, and now all of a sudden with how everything has increased in our lives, you also have to figure out how to pay for PrEP. So then do you just say F it and not take it, right? And then put other people's lives in danger? Like, Ron? Like, what can you do?
You know, it comes to a lot of things. Like, if you're talking about PrEP, you know, you have to talk more than just PrEP. You also have to talk about treatment. You also have to talk about the cure. They all have to work together. They're all equally important to one another. But really, to end the HIV epidemic, it is viral suppression. We're going to have to get to viral suppression. We've got countries that are very close to that number, and I think once we can get there, and I have to believe, you know, when the president had enacted EHE funding, that's actually been proven to be the most effective program out there to end the HIV epidemic, and that is because it's going after those people who are out of care. It's re-engaging them back into care, and that's what we need to do.
Yeah, and this is so scary on so many levels. Like, you know, Miami is #1 when it comes to HIV/AIDS, with Black women being #1. You know, this is not HIV and AIDS is not something that just affects gay people. You know, and they keep on saying we don't want to help anybody. We don't want to help you gays. You know, what happens to the heterosexual folks that are also living and trying to thrive with HIV right now?
When you look at the overall world numbers, and I like to look at it from that worldview, because
you're a nerd. That's why, and I love it.
I love data. But no, more than 50% of the people living with HIV in the world are women. Wow. More than 50% are women.
Wow.
So it's not, like you said, it's not just gay. It's, you know.
Well, this case is horrifying because it is more than, PrEP is a very big part of this, but this is about blocking requirements of the ACA to mandate preventative care. Because before the ACA, you know, back in the wilderness of that time, an insurer didn't have to pay for preventative care. And this is trying to do away with that. And we've seen so many parts of the ACA get whittled away the last few years, especially by the court. I want to remind people that the ACA was passed by a Congress that had the largest majority of either party in the 21st century by the most popular president ever elected. And every time the Supreme Court whittles away, it is an attack on democracy itself, because it was the most popularly elected group of people to pass a bill this century. But, like, you take away this, these things are going to be completely unaffordable. Mammograms could be affected. PrEP is definitely going to be affected.
Birth control.
All of it. And, like, this is what, you know, I always warn, you're never the one that I bicker with this, but other people, when we talk about any time Gilead have the product, it's very expensive, and I get worried about it. This is the main case that scares me the most with it, because people aren't going to be able to afford to spend $50,000 a year for that once or twice a year injection. And how are we going to make sure that people get checked for cancer ahead of time? If you don't catch it, it actually is going to, of course, the insurers are trying to save like $5 doing this. But long term, it's going to be so much more expensive for all.
Yes, and then that's why when people say things like, "Oh, hospitals are making so much money," or insurance money, you know, or pharma's making so much money, right? Like, they really don't know what that entails, right?
Well, pharma is really making so much money.
Well, yeah, and they will continue to do so. But I mean, they want us sick, Alex. They want us to basically have diseases like this, have more cancers, have more things that they could treat on the tail end of it instead of preventative.
Well, in reality, the group that's pushing it, they don't want us sick. They just want us sick if we're poor.
Wow. Mic drop. That is the big LGBTQ story for today. There is no other queer nonprofit media platform like this in the entire world. Support our LGBTQ stories by subscribing and sharing Queer News Tonight. So those are today's headlines from Queer News Tonight. These anchors represent the best of our LGBTQ and allied community.
If our community is important to you, share this news with your friends and family. Join the conversation on your favorite streaming platform. Queer News Tonight is the only live LGBTQ+ digital television show in the world that is out of the closet and into the headlines.
We need your support. If our community is to grow and then thrive, we must tell our stories and bring them to the attention of the broader world.
This is the only place in the world that tells these types of LGBTQ stories in motion and sound. That is the passion of Hotspots Magazine, Happening Out Television Network, and Queer News Tonight.
I'm your anchor, FayWhat, and on behalf of these LGBTQ reporters, the incredible anchors of Queer News Tonight, including Edward Otto Zielke, Alex Morash, and Von Biggs. We will see you daily at 8 p.m. to our LGBTQ+ world. We hope that you will join us by embracing love, generosity, bravery, by being transformative and being queer. Good night.
Night.